Beastmasters can be the hero your party needs.
What? That's a 3-button spec, man.
Oh yeah? If you want to learn those 3 buttons plus talents, gear, rotation and everything to save your group in raids and dungeons, then go no further because today we're letting the dogs out. Kicking it off with the talents. There are currently 2 builds that work for Beastmasters. One standard build that works for all gear levels, and another that relies on heavier stacks of crit and specific Azurite traits. For the sake of keeping our video easy to pick up, providing the essentials to start now, we will only cover the quote main build. First row, take Killer Instinct. This creates an execute phase for kill command, which will be your heavy hitter. Single target or AoE, if you can kill command the lowest target as a rule of thumb, your damage output will vastly differ than otherwise. Second row, take Chimera Shot. This is the most DPS gain on the row for this build. I mentioned there's another build. This is the row that changes for that one other build, where you take one with the pack, and I'm only mentioning this as an FYI, by the way. Take Chimera Shot. Third row is a utility row. As a default, you should take Natural Mending, since there is little in the way of defensives and sustain for Beastmasters. Having this reduce the cooldown of Exhilaration is amazing, not to mention it scales with your gear and makes it available more often. Fourth row, take a Murder of Crows. This will add another button for you to press. I know some of you really like to point out how simple the spec is, and I'm not going to argue with you, but you still have an extra button. And in AoE, managing this can make a big difference if you actually get it to refresh its cooldown. Fifth row is a utility row with 2 options. Option 1 is for raiding, and ideally you go with Post Haste here. It works really well when you need a bit more mobility to do mechanics, since hunters are famous for having this extra job. For dungeons, take Binding Shot, which is crazy good, especially in weeks with Necrotic where you can help your tank kite and drop off the stacks. Sure, you have Tar Trap, but are they really the same? No, they're not. Binding Shot is awesome. Sixth row, take Stomp. It's the highest DPS gain and helps a crazy amount with AoE damage. Not very complicated. Stampede is seeming very close behind, so if you really like the talent you can take it, but the consistency of it falls short of Stomp. Last row, take Aspect of the Beast. Again, the best DPS output of the row by a decent amount. Beast Mastery is not a difficult spec to play. However, there are a few things to manage, and getting that done perfectly will set you apart from your peers. Beastmasters have a pretty good balance between the secondary stats, but that should never stop you in simming your stats if you want to min-max and get the best parses. This is the era of gaming we are in, and we have to get with the program. The general stat priority though is eye level first, meaning agility. Very niche situations will eye level not be important, and those will factor in Azurite Traits. But they are so specific that only a proper sim can tell you if it's worth to sack eye level for a trait or not. Second most important stat is crit. You want a lot of crit. A lot. Once you actually get a high amount, you can even start dabbling into the other builds, but generally crit makes your rotation smoother, on top of the damage of course. Haste is second to crit, followed closely by mastery and versatility. If you want to optimize for pure AoE and Mythic Plus scenarios, swap crit with mastery and you should be golden. As an example, my stat weight at 363 eye level, yes, I'm still gearing my 30th spec, are something like this. The value between them changes as you get more of one stat and less of another, so ideally you too should keep an up-to-date sim of your stat weights. For better or worse, not much will change in your setup in terms of gear when comparing raiding with Mythic Plus. Of course, there will always be room for min-maxing, but once you reach that stage, nothing anyone says will matter since you will just have to sim your character to know what you need. That's just how it is. Good old Flame, however, still has for you a list of trinkets to aim for that will perform good in all situations. Keep in mind that this doesn't mean that these are the only good ones. First and foremost, as with most agility and crit based DPSers, you want Harlan's loaded dice from Freehold. Although it has a chance of giving you other stats than crit, it's still an amazing trinket. Another option is the Gale Caller's Boon from Shrine of the Storm. This one leaves a ward on the ground for you to stand in, but since you have the range advantage, that won't be as big of a problem. Last but not least, the Variable Intensity Gigavolt Oscillating Reactor, or Vigor, from Mechatork is something you can aim for if you're still raiding this tier. If you get it at a decent eye level, it will carry you into 8.2 a fair bit, by the way, until you can replace it. And we are down to Azurite Traits. No bullshit, let's hit it. Primal Instinct is the best one to take and stack. You won't get more than one barb shot if you stack it, but the raw stat increase is cray-cray. Another one you can stack, most likely at the loss of Primal Instinct, is Dance of Death. This one works well if you have a decent amount of crit strike. You can actually stack this reliably if you still take one Primal Instinct on top of it and performs even better in raids overall. If you're going to stack Dance of Death, take a Blightborn Infusion as well, since it feeds well into the synergy you have with Critical Strike as a stat. Lastly, two traits you can take one of each, especially if you stack Primal Instinct, are Haze of Rage and Rapid Reload. Having one of each works really well in dungeons since over the course of your run, you will have less downtime than in a raid. For secondaries, Unstable Flames is the only one you really want to aim for, with the rest being your personal choice. When it comes to the rotation, you have to understand a few things. Depending on your haste and proc RNG, your rotation can change, so grasping the concept of a priority system is much more important. The number one thing you should be trying to do, even at the expense of delaying important cooldowns, is maintaining the frenzy buff at 3 stacks with proper barbed shot usage. You will never have 100% uptime on it, so eventually it will drop. Refreshing it at the very last second will extend the uptime more, so delay it as much as you can without actually dropping the buff. Once it drops though, don't reapply it right away until you're at the point of reaching 2 charges of barbed shot. If you try to reapply it as soon as you can after it drops, you won't have enough cooldown reduction to reach 3 stacks of frenzy again. After this, keep Bestial Wrath and Aspect of the Wild on cooldown. If they are within 20 seconds or less of each other coming off cooldown, delay one so you can pair them together. Kill Command is the next most important spell to cast on cooldown, followed by Chimera Shot while making sure you will not cap on focus. Murder of Crows and Barb Shot when the buff dropped and you are about to reach 2 stacks of it. Fill in with a Cobra Shot to prevent focus capping and when Kill Command has more than 2.5 seconds of cooldown left. In AoE, you will use Beast Cleave as your main source of damage, meaning that you still will prioritize keeping Frenzy up, but also making sure you won't drop Beast Cleave. Since it has a 4-second duration, you can cycle in a multi-shot every 3 GCDs or so, never more since the damage is shit. Unless you have the Rapid Reload trait. If you have Rapid Reload, Multi-Shot replaces Cobra Shot entirely on 2 to 3 targets and replaces Kill Command entirely on 4 or more targets. This is because Rapid Reload shaves off 1 second off of Aspect of the Wild for any target hit above the base 2. Yeah, your math is correct. Reaping Waves would be crazy with this trait. For the opener, I will assume you are running the Primal Instinct trait, since it still is the BIS trait. As such, you open with a pre-pot and Bestial Wrath about 2 seconds before the pool, then Barbed Shot twice. Pop Aspect, then Murder of Crows, then a kill command, then a Chimera shot, then a Cobra shot, then another kill command. Then make sure to refresh Frenzy. That's it. Practice it, master it, and profit. As with any spec, if you really want to maximize your DPS output, you will always follow the stat priorities when getting enchants and stuff. But that's not why you're here. You want me to tell you what's what. If you trust me that much, you clearly haven't met my dad. But as far as enchants go, get crit for rings and gems. If you have the money, you can get one Kraken's Eye of Agility in one socket as well. For the weapon, take Masterful Navigation by default, since your crit will be high enough due to your rings and gems and overall gearing. But if you have at least one Dance of Death Azurite trait, Crow's Nest Scope becomes way better for that extra crit and synergy it provides. The best food to aim for is the main stat food, meaning feasts or blood sausages. There's no going around it. You want the best? This is the best. Lastly, use the Flask of the Currents and Battle Potion of Agility for big demanding encounters or high keys. 8.2 is just around the corner, and before we can test all of the essences and see which is good for each spec, go check our full essence guide covering all the effects and where you can get them. Shout out to our patrons for their continued support. And if you want to become a supporting contributor to our channel and content, check the details to our Patreon page down below. Gear yourself with some awesome Marcelian&Online swag from our official Teespring link down below. Grab your t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies and mugs and spread some WoW love in the world. Thanks for watching the video. Have a wonderful day.